So I said I'd share the dragon story. So I don't know how many years ago this was now. I'm going to say 6 or 7 years ago. I was speaking with a business client, and he's a nice guy, and we had a good session. We talked about the kinds of things we're talking about today, about mind and consciousness and thought, and where experience comes from, and our deeper nature and our true identity. And the next time I spoke with him, he said, "What did you do to me?" And I said, "What do you mean?" And he said, "I've been trying to stop biting my nails for 20 years. What secret hypnosis thing did you do? Because I've tried cognitive therapy, and I've tried, I forget the thing where you poke yourself every time you do something bad, behavioral operant conditioning, and I've tried hypnosis, and I've tried this, and I've tried that." And I said to him, I said, "Look, I can honestly tell you I didn't do anything because you didn't tell me you bit your nails." So, I mean, even like I can't even claim subconsciously maybe I did some clever manipulation, but I can tell you what happened. And he said, "Okay, well, what happened?" And I said, "Imagine a world filled with terrifying, horrifying dragons, not How to Train Your Dragon dragons that are really lovely, but malevolent dragons, and that a bite from the dragon will fill your body with a poison so toxic that you'll be so uncomfortable, and you'll twist and you'll turn, and it will manifest in all sorts of, it'll start you'll become ugly and inside and out, and your insides will become twisted, and even a scratch from the dragon can infect you." Now, in a world like that, the most important skills that you would learn would be the skills of fighting and defending yourself from dragons. And so in that world, some people, now this is another way of talking about the many games of life. Some people would try and defend themselves from the dragon by playing the hog in a trough game, by trying to accumulate so much money that the castle walls of money would keep out the dragons. Other people might play the cock in a dunghill game, the king of the mountain, and they might try and get so famous to be loved a little by so many people that the dragon couldn't possibly get into their castle. Other people might play the Moloch game, the game of power, and try and rule over others with an iron fist and be so powerful and build the walls of their castle out of that power so that the dragon couldn't get inside. Some the religion game, but all would be played in an attempt to stay safe from the dragons. Now imagine that you were unsuccessful, because most people lose games. That's the nature of games, right? It's what makes games fun, is that you can lose as well as win. Otherwise, it's not much of a game. Well, people who see that they're never going to win the wealth game, the fame game, the glory game, the power game, the love game, or they think they never will. Well, they have to learn instead, how do I deal with the dragon bites? How do I deal with the dragon scratches? And they deal with it by biting their nails. They deal with it by overeating and then throwing up, or by starving themselves. They deal with it by injecting their body with drugs. They deal with it by storing drugs into their body. They do that in whatever way they know how. Now imagine that one day you wake up and you can see insightfully, not as a theory, but you see for yourself that there are no dragons. That what looks like the shadow of a dragon on the wall is really just the shadow of a thought. And you see all around you people running from the dragons, screaming in agony from the imagined dragon bites, building their castles to protect themselves from the dragons, and sitting inside them in worlds that get smaller and smaller and smaller in order to try and feel safer and safer and safer. Well, what would you do? Well, if you were building a castle, whatever you were building it out of, you might carry on building the castle because you like castles. But you wouldn't build it with that same kind of desperation that you had been building it before. You wouldn't be building it anymore to keep out the dragons. You'd be building it because castles are cool. If you weren't in the castle building game, you would start to see that what felt like poison inside you, what felt like dragon poison, was actually just your own unrecognized thought. And you'd start to see that, boy, this changes. This comes and it goes. This is a transient energy. This isn't a constant. This is just shadows on the wall. Some shadows are scary, some look fun, but it's just shadows on a wall. There's no there. And when you no longer had the poison in you, you would no longer feel the need to engage in whatever behavior you'd been engaging in to mitigate the poison. When you don't drink the poison, you don't need the antidote. When you're not in a scary, mysterious discomfort that you don't know is going to go away in 5 minutes when your thinking changes, after you've had a nap, after you've eaten something, after you've gone for a walk, 10 minutes further into your work when you're just not paying attention to it anymore. Well, the behaviors will just fall away by themselves. And you'd come to see your fellow human beings and their suffering and all the frenzied activity that they're engaging in to protect themselves from and cope with imaginary dragons. And you would probably feel an incredible compassion for them. And you would probably be drawn in whatever small way it occurred to you to do whatever you knew to do to help them wake up to the fact that there are no dragons. And that's the dragon story.